Hey, what's up? This is Scott with Level Up Tutorials, and I thought I would do a quick code blog because, well, we have, I don't want to say we've been struggling, but we've been struggling with some complex state issues. And in fact, let me even pull up Level Up the actual code I'm working with right now, or the actual site I'm working with. I don't know why I moved it off screen. So we've been running into some complex state requirements, and obviously the solution might be to go towards something like, I don't know, recoil or redux or whatever. We didn't want to go that far because I've been very excited about a new library called Zustand. Zustand. And I really like this library, or at least the looks of it, and I had never gotten to use it. So I wanted to do a quick roundup on how we solved some of our issues here, what those issues were, and what Zustand and Immer did to help that. Because, well, as you know, anytime you get any sort of nested state, it can get really ugly. In fact, what we were finding, I mean, keep in mind, this code, prototype code. This code is not live. It hasn't been refactored. It's been, you can see variables named things like not quiz, so which is not even being used. So there's a lot of junk in here, so bear with me. But if we scroll down here, you're going to see a lot of stuff like this, where we were doing a set, as in like a React use state set, but because we had some deeply nested state, something just like this would not simply work. What we had to do is nest and nest and nest, and once you get into arrays and things, it gets very ugly very quick, and we were just hating it. I'm just going to say that. We were not liking it, and this was all with use state. So obviously, there's a lot of different solutions for this type of thing, even with use state. But what we decided to do was to use a new library called Zustand, and it's created by the React Spring people. And what it allows you to do is basically create a state container and then just use it anywhere you want. In fact, if you scroll down here, you'll see that my store has been created. Now, obviously, the quiz initializing to null is not something that will stick around. We just wrote a quick initializer that just grabs it and defines it. So don't worry about too much about any of this stuff right here. All we're looking at is this update question and just how neat this is. So what we're doing is nesting a deeply nested value and needing to change that. For instance, this is a quiz. The quiz has a billion questions on it, and each of those questions has various things. For instance, this is a question, a question within a question, and then we have the results here, the answers. So what we did to solve this deeply nested state is first, we did this neat little middleware for Zustand where we created basically just a wrapper for Immer that runs produce with the function passed in here. This bit of code is a little bit of a mess, but if you can just ignore how much of a mess is, or it is difficult to read. I mean, once you parse it down, you can read it. You could write this in a more readable way, but I copied and pasted this, so don't worry about it. This is basically just going to allow us to use Immer's produce function that we brought in via Immer right here. It allows us to use Immer's produce within Zustand very easily. And then when I mean very easily, I mean very easily, because check this out. We created our store, and if we ignore this initialize and this set, and we just look straight up at the update question, which is this is the function that it's in question right here. It's update question. Now, update question is simply just a function or a method that is going to accept a question index, a name, and a value. And then we're going to return the set function. The set function comes directly from Zustand right here. And we then get the previous state, the old state, and we are able to mutate that state. And when I say mutate, it's not actually mutating it because this whole thing is wrapped in Immer right here. It's creating a copy of it. And so we have state, quiz, questions, question index, name, and we're able to deep drill down into this and just set it via this one-liner. And what that does is it's automatically going to get us that updated state without really affecting anything else. So what you do is you create your store. And keep in mind, this is not a tutorial. I just wanted to show off some neat code here. What you do is you create your store. Then you use this create function, and this comes from Zustand. Then you wrap your store in an Immer function that we created, the Immer middleware that we created up top here, right here. So you create your store, you wrap your store in Immer, then you wrap that in create, and then out pops use store, which is a React hook that then allows us to access anything from our store just like this. We can just say use store, get the quiz, set, initialize, update question. Okay. I'm going to get rid of this stuff because it's old, but we're going to be able to save a lot of code. And what happens then is that the update question code that we used to have in this code base that looked very similar to this line right here. I mean, it looked similar without the splicing and whatever. We were just able to remove all of that. And that has been very good. Now, I'm not going to try to replace any of these right now, but maybe it might be fun to try to do maybe like this update choice. We could do this update choice live. And again, this is Zustand and Immer. And sorry for my appearance, the lighting, I just threw this on. I was writing this code and thought, hey, I'm having issues with some of these things. It might be interesting for other people to see a solution that's working in a real application. So check it out. Okay, we have update choice, which is simply just all it's doing, all this garbage, even though this isn't even working right now because I've just been goofing with it so much. All of this garbage is really just trying to deeply nest change the previous state, questions, question index, choices, choice index, name, and set it to value. Meaning that for this thing to work, what we need is the question index, the choice index, the name, and the value, as well as the previous state, and that should be it. So what I can do is first, let's head up top to our state that we created, our store. I'm going to go ahead and just say update choice. Okay, we're going to update a very specific choice, and this is just simply going to be a method that accepts several properties, and it's going to simply just run and return the set function from Zustand, and we'll have then access to the previous state just like we wanted. Okay, so we have access to the previous state. So we need to bring in our variables into here. Let's scroll down. Let's grab those variables. I have them right here. So we need the question index, the choice index, the name, and the value, right? What field are we updating? Where is its position in this very, very large collection here? And then what is the new value that it should be? So let's go ahead and paste all these in. And just, you're going to have to bear with a lot of these squigglies from TypeScript right now. I'm not going to worry too much about that. Okay. So we have our question index, our choice index, our name, and our value, just like we wanted. And next, let's go ahead and grab that offending line here. That would never work because it's too deeply nested. We would need to do some cloning or some deep cloning, whatever. And we're just going to say, hey, you know, the state, we're going to look into state. However, this time, since state contains everything, including the quiz itself, we need to do state.quiz.questions. Then we can grab the question index, choices, choice index, name, and then set it to the value. Okay. And even though we do have these red underlines, I would imagine it's just TypeScript saying, hey, it has any type. Whatever, TypeScript. I'll worry about you later. Okay. So we have update choice. So now what this does is it puts this update choice function into our store, meaning we can come in here and pull this update choice function out of here. And because of that, well, the update choice, the function that we had before, simply just did all the same stuff. Hey, we can just delete this whole update choice. Now I'm going to, before I do that, I'm going to cut this type out of here. To be honest, the better solution would be to create a type and do it. But hey, why not? Non-TypeScript people, just ignore all this for now because you don't care. But I got rid of those red squigglies. Cool. Okay. So if this worked, what should happen is we should now be able to deeply update this very deep path here without having to worry about it. And what that would do is hopefully allow it so every single one of these choices is able to be updated, because the way it works with the deep state, and I don't mean deep state Yeah, I'm not going to get into that, but with the way you set deep state, it didn't work. So, moment of truth, it works. It works. It works. It works. And it didn't work before because, well, the whole state nesting deeply thing. Not only that, but we got to remove this function. And what the function did, it was a function that took some stuff and then took our use state, and it was doing so much extra stuff when all we really had to do was say, hey, you know our state? Let's go update these things in here. And it's safe. We don't have to think about it. It automatically re-renders the component and everything is beautiful. So I just wanted to show you that really quick. This isn't the best code to learn this stuff on, but I wanted to show you in a real live code base how we're using it, what the heck is going on with this thing. If you want to dive in more, I highly recommend checking out Zustand here. There is an example in their code base of what we're doing. If you scroll down here, you're going to look at the middleware option. Let's look at middleware. I think it's in middleware. They show you this, the one-liner that I told you, turns the set method into an Immer proxy. That's what this whole little bit is doing, right? And then anytime we call state, we can modify it. You can see that set state example is exactly what we're doing. One thing you don't want to do, I should mention, if the time of your watching this, don't do one of their code examples in here is not working. This one right here, we're setting state structure contains equals null. Don't do this. I actually just put in a PR to do it the way where you have an object rather than returning void, because this won't work. Okay. So if you want to see an example of exactly what we're doing here, head to this middleware example and check this out. This is what we're doing. It's very cool. Very into this and super into this library. Another word of warning or caution that the documentation for this does not touch on. Do not create your store. Like, don't do this create Immer store business inside of your component. Don't do it. It won't work. Your state won't update, and you'll wonder why, because there won't be any errors. Know from experience. Okay, so check it out. This is it. Just this really cool stuff. I'm going to get going on the rest of this component now. Updating all the state, getting rid of all of these use states to use Zustand and Immer. Oh, best thing about Zustand, for those of you who are saying, I don't want to add another library to my project. Zustand is 647 bytes. So you can't argue with 647 bytes. I'm not gonna. So check it out. This is Immer, Zustand, and some modifications that we're making to our code base. And you might also notice some little Easter eggs, besides the fact that this is a quiz. This is a quiz, the fake data. It actually comes from Dan Levy. And so, Dan, if you're watching this, I use some of your fake data here. I'm sorry. This isn't live or production. Also, you may have noticed this neat little syntax theme, or you may have noticed that this is our admin section. Maybe things that you've never seen before. Yeah. Neat little syntax theme. This is also coming to leveluptutorials.com. So check it out. Working on this, and let me know what you think of this approach. If you think it's slick or not. Me personally, this is slicker than Redux. It's slicker than a lot of the state management libraries that I've tried. So far, so good. So check it out. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.